Who is the greatest of all time? This is a debate that has been raging on for the longest time now. Will it be coming to an end soon? We don't think so. Why? The criteria people use to categorize who is the GOAT will always vary tremendously. For instance, for some football fans, Lionel Messi can't be the GOAT because he hasn't had success with Argentina, and for others, Ronaldo can't be the GOAT because Messi is way ahead of him. How about we discuss something we can, well, almost agree on? Who's GOAT at every position in UEFA CHAMPIONS LEAGUE? First things first though, we pick a formation. We all agree 4-4-2 is the most common formation in football. However, that has changed in recent years with the likes of Real Madrid, Barcelona, and most recently Liverpool winning the competition with different variations of 4-3-3. And since this has proved effective, why not use it? In goal, we have Iker Casillas, with honorary mention to Gianluigi Buffon. Iker Casillas. A three-time winner, the Real Madrid icon is the most capped goalkeeper in the history of the competition, featuring for the Los Blancos for almost 2 decades. The Spanish shot-stopper was called up in the competition for the first time when he was just 16 for Madrid's group stage meeting with Roseborg in 1997. He finally made his debut in 1999 against Olympiacos aged 18 years and 177 days, setting a then record as the youngest goalkeeper to ever make a Champions League appearance. Throughout his career, Casillas had the ability to not only make great saves that would amaze us, but he always seemed to come up with the big save when his team needed him most. That is the difference between a great keeper and a world-class one. Right back, we have the best, Dani Alves. Dani Alves is not only the most decorated defender in history of the game, but also the most decorated footballer of all time. The Brazilian has 43 titles to his name and is by far one of the finest defenders to have ever touched the ball. He will be remembered in the famous Barcelona side that dominated Europe under Pep Guardiola. His pace and direct approach to the game made him a menace to opposition teams, and it's only right to say he helped redefine the right-back role. Central defenders. Sergio Ramos, with honorary mention to Carles Puyol. Sergio Ramos isn't just any other normal player who stayed at Real Madrid for some years and left after winning some trophies. He is simply the greatest defender and the greatest leader in the history of the club. He won everything with the Spanish Giants, but most importantly, revolutionized the way a modern center-back is expected to play, influencing many young defenders with his exploits. He will always be remembered for his last-minute goals, his record number of red cards, his aggressive nature, and his fights on the pitch. For Real Madrid fans, he is a symbol of Madridismo, and for football lovers, he is simply the perfect description of a modern-day defender. Carles Puyol might not be mentioned among the all-time great defenders, but he is a worthy mention thanks to his achievements with Barcelona. He was the rock on which the Catalan success under Pep Guardiola was built. His versatility was his greatest weapon, and Guardiola made good use of it during a time in which Barcelona ruled world football. From one world class to another, Paolo Maldini. One of the most consistent defenders of all time, Paolo Maldini finished third for the Ballon d'Or twice, once in 1994 and a second time 9 years later. The one-club Italian captained AC Milan to 5 Champions League trophies and 7 league titles in 14 historic years with the Milan club. Even though he spent part of his time playing as a left-back, he excelled in central defense. He was one of the smartest players that ever played this beautiful game. His reading of a match and game awareness are almost unparalleled, defending look effortless. Ronaldinho once said of him, he was one of the best defenders in Champions League history, but what was so impressive about him is that when he was on the ball, he didn't look like a defender, but like an elegant midfield player. Paolo Maldini, simply the greatest. Left back, Roberto Carlos, with honorary mention to Marcelo. With lightning pace and a rocket of a left foot, Roberto Carlos epitomized the modern-day fullback. He took attacking fullback play to a new level, with his marauding runs down the left flank thrilling football fans for 2 decades. He scored stunning goals and supplied brilliant assists during his time at the Bernabeu. But the left back never neglected his defensive duties. He was a dead ball specialist too, and had had countless special moments in his career, including assisting Zidane's famous Champions League goal against Leverkusen in 2002. Carlos was replaced at Real Madrid by fellow countryman Marcelo. He filled the boots perfectly and left after 15 years, having won 5 Champions League titles. And upon his retirement, Carlos was there to congratulate him, terming him the best left back in the game's history. Marcelo, in my opinion, has been the best left back of all time. Midfielders: Xavi Hernandez with honorary mention to Steven Gerrard. He is the best player in the history of Spanish football. Lionel Messi once talked of Xavi, and it's not hard to see why. You can never find enough superlatives to describe the Spaniard. He possessed high football IQ, tactical discipline, and positional awareness that the world will never get to see again. He was a sensational passer of the ball who helped Barcelona both dominate and change the game during Guardiola's time in charge. He played the game simply but gloriously, and perhaps no other player better epitomizes the tiki-taka style of play that saw Barcelona dominate European football for years. He was so good and came close to winning the Ballon d'Or on 3 occasions, but finished third in 3 years running. He was the dominant metronomic inspiration behind Barcelona's twin devastations of Manchester United in the finals of 2009 and 2011. Is he the greatest midfielder of our generation? Your answer is as good as mine. Istanbul, the night Gerrard inspired a 3-goal comeback against Maldini's Milan, still defines Liverpool's departed captain and remains one of the top Champions League moments ever. He not only inspired his team for those pulsating 6 minutes, but also retreated to right back in extra time and led the defensive effort to hold on for penalties. Zinedine Zidane, with honorary mention to Luka Modric. Zinedine Zidane, an unforgettable name once heard. The Frenchman was simply special. He is among the few to have ever won the Champions League as a player and manager, and the only manager to ever win the competition thrice in a row. Whether played as a number 10 or a more withdrawn role, Zizou was one of the best playmakers we have ever seen. He was an artist on the pitch, oozing class with his famous runs, silky movements, and the signature drag back that left many players bamboozled. Who can forget the winning goal in the final against Leverkusen, a dipping, streaking volley that might be the greatest Champions League goal of all, on his weaker left foot. After twice losing finals with Juventus in 1997 and 1998, he seized the prize for himself. He was truly a master of a generation. From being named the best midfielder in the competition to winning UEFA Men's Player of the Season, 4-time winner Luka Modric is never mentioned enough. The diminutive playmaker is one of the finest midfielders of our generation and is one of 2 players to have ever won the Ballon d'Or since Messi and Ronaldo came onto the scene more than a decade ago. Andreas Iniesta with honorary mention to Clarence Seedorf. A member of arguably the finest midfield trio the game has ever seen, Andreas Iniesta boasted outrageous close control and sublime dribbling skills. Having won 4 Champions League titles, Iniesta remains one of the finest Spanish footballers ever. The Dutchman, Clarence Seedorf, owns the crown of winning 3 UEFA Champions League titles with 3 different clubs. He tasted victory with Ajax, Real Madrid, and AC Milan during a hugely impressive career that spanned almost 2 decades, taking him from Amsterdam to Madrid and later Milan. Left wing, Cristiano Ronaldo, with honorary mention to fellow countryman Luis Figo. Ronaldo needs no introduction. He is Mr. Champions League, thanks to his unparalleled success in the competition. The Portuguese superstar has led by example in Champions League and currently sits atop the all-time goal-scoring charts with 141 strikes in 174 appearances. In fact, Ronaldo finished as the competition's top scorer from 2012 until 2018. The 17 goals he scored in the 2013-14 edition of the competition is the record tally for Champions League goals scored in a single season, and in the modern era, he is the only player to score in 3 different Champions League finals: 2008, 2014, 2017. From the teenager who first stepped feet at Old Trafford, the winger has grown into the finest footballer of all time, winning 5 Champions League titles during the time, breaking and setting new records along the way. Technically, physically, and mentally, CR7 is world-class. Luis Figo is probably one of the 2 players that could be mentioned in the same breath as Eusebio when talking about Portugal's greatest ever player. Of course you know the other. A fast, elegant winger, Figo is one of the 3 Portuguese players to win the Ballon d'Or and was part of the star-studded Real Madrid that won the 2002 Champions League. He was named the Portuguese Player of the Year 6 years in a row and was also the World Player of the Year. Left wing, Lionel Messi, with honorary mention to Ronaldinho. Termed as the greatest football player who ever lived, Lionel Messi has changed our entire perception of what is possible in the world of football. The Argentine has been on top of the world for almost 2 decades now. Making his debut in 2004, the diminutive forward, capable of playing different attacking roles, has made the competition his playground. He has delivered countless memorable moments over the years with Barcelona, leading the Catalan Giants to 4 Champions League trophies. At his peak, the Argentine was utterly unstoppable, a bewitching mix of pure pace and sensational dribbling skills. Rome in 2009 saw him score a rare header, and Manchester United, the same opponents, were beaten by a 20-yard strike at Wembley 2 years later. He remains one of only 2 players to have scored over 100 goals, 120, and 8 hat-tricks in the competition. We have footballers, and then there are entertainers. Ronaldinho was the latter. The Brazilian was more than an artist on the pitch, a joy to watch and one who made many fall in love with the beautiful game. He played football for the joy of it, to entertain, and many will not even know whether he was left or right-footed. We'd pay anything just to have the guy back on the football pitch again. Forward, Raul Gonzalez, honorary mention, Karim Benzema. The Real Madrid striker was as prolific as they come in European football and remains a Champions League legend. He propelled the Spanish Giants to new heights. He was not the fastest and did not have an exquisite first touch, but Raul's predatory instincts made him a nightmare to defend against inside the penalty era. He was always in the right place at the right time, every time. The forward was a trailblazer in the Champions League, becoming the first ever player to score 50 goals and make 100 appearances in the competition. He retired while still the competition's top scorer, but a lot has happened since. There's no denying it though, he is undoubtedly one of the best to ever grace the competition. Ronaldo's departure from Real Madrid opened the door for Karim Benzema to finally be the main man at the club, and he dutifully became their attacking weapon. Benzema's prolific 2021-22 season took his UEFA Champions League goals total to 86, making the French striker the 4th highest scorer in Europe's top club football competition. He also won his 4th Champions League title, and his efforts were recognized as he was recently named the Ballon d'Or winner, only the 2nd player, behind Modric, to win it during this era dominated by Lionel Messi and Ronaldo. This was our take on Best Champions League 11. Who would you add to the list? Let us know in the comments section below.